Welcome to Developing the Young Workforce, Dumfries&Galloway, Science in the Classroom. We're going to look at emulsifiers now. When you have things like vinegar and other substances like oils, you'll find that only some things dissolve in oil and some things dissolve in vinegar. And that is behind the principle of things like when you're using paint to decorate your house, that certain paints you can clean your brushes in water, and other paints you have to clean your brushes in white spirit. So in foods, it becomes important when you need two different types of food to mix. Generally one that's got oil in it and another that doesn't. You need these two foods to mix so that whatever you're making tastes nice. And mayonnaise is something where emulsifiers are used, and as is chocolate. So chocolatiers need to understand emulsification if they're going to make nice chocolate for you to eat. So we're going to take these test tubes, and you can do this at home, and we're going to fill them with an equal mix of oil and vinegar. And we can see from one I have earlier that these two substances don't mix. The oil layer, no matter what order you put them in, has formed a layer on the top of the vinegar layer. And you can see that from the one we've just done, where I put the oil in first and then the vinegar, but they've settled that way round. So, one of the first substances we're going to try is an egg, but we're keeping the parts of the egg separate. So we have egg yolk that we can try, and we have egg white that we can try. And I'm going to try some of the egg white first to see if it can join these two substances together. So I'm going to give the tube a shake. And then we need to wait and see what happens. And I think it's very clear to see that the egg white has not managed to join those two substances together. So it can't be an emulsifier. So now we're going to look at the egg yolk. And we're going to put it into the tube with the oil and vinegar. And again, give it a good shake. Now, this one is interesting because they are starting to join together, but I think I'm going to need a cork and shake it a bit more vigorously if that's going to happen properly. So, we've got a cork. I'm going to give it an even bigger shake. And hopefully you can see from that that is now one uniform substance, and there is no break between the oil and the vinegar. The way emulsifiers do this is really clever. They're molecules that have one end that can dissolve in water or a vinegar-like substance, and one end that can dissolve in oil. And because they can dissolve in both of these different substances that will not dissolve in each other, they allow them to mix like this. And that's how you can make things like mayonnaise. So when you're at home, you can try out different things. We've also got salt here to try out. So I'm going to take a little bit of salt and try it in the third tube and see if it will make them mix. And sometimes you need to give it a little bit of time to settle to see if it's actually worked. We might come back to that one in a minute. You can see our egg is still mixed well, but our egg white, if we mix it up and leave it for a little while, it again starts to separate. Some sometimes when you're making a salad dressing, you might be told to put a pinch of mustard into it. And that's because salad dressings are made from oil and vinegar. So why put the mustard in? I always thought it was due to the taste when I was younger. But when I started to study chemistry, I realised it's because mustard is actually an emulsifier too. It will mix your oil and vinegar, and it will give you a salad dressing that doesn't separate so easily. So just like the egg yolk, it can do that clever job of joining those two substances together. So when you're at home, you can try out other things. We have sugar you could try, or you could try things like maybe curry powder and see if they will mix oil and water or oil and vinegar. Just use whatever you have at hand, but you do need to use oil with something that is water-based, like vinegar. So there is our salt. It's not worked. It is definitely not an emulsifier. Unlike our mustard, which is. Have a go at home.